You skipped it, you dissed it, you said it's a bore. But what if that film's got a little bit more? What if I don't like it? What if it's bad? What if it's awkward or lazy or sad? But what if it's genius, a total surprise? What if it's gold when I open my eyes? We're watching the films you love to avoid. Now sit down and deal with your cinephile void. What if I don't like it? Let's give it a spin. You might hate it or love it. Let's dive right in.
Welcome to the show. I am your host, Katie Baldessaro, and this is What If I Don't Like It? That is where we take a movie we have not yet seen, but decided we didn't like, even though, watch it, and see if it actually deserves that reputation. This time I've got Brian and John from the Cinema Psychos show here, and we're watching Fried Green Tomatoes for their very first time, which I love because this is not a movie that screams Cinema Psychos. It's not horror, it doesn't have gore or splatter or creature effects, although it does have murder. And you might immediately be yawning here because Fried Green Tomatoes often gets lumped into this like safe 90s comfort movie category, but it is a lot darker and smarter than people give it credit for. Yeah, it's got this like warm sepia lighting and like Southern charm thing going, but underneath that it's got a story about abuse and revenge and identity and the quiet ways that women fight back. It's all told through a double narrative. Kathy Bates plays a woman named Evelyn who's trapped in her bland suburban life. She's listening to Jessica Tandy's Ninny tell stories about Idgie and Ruth, who work at the Whistle Stop Cafe in Alabama. And the way that the film uses this framing device, the jumping between timelines, it's all about memory and how storytelling can become a form of survival. As a filmmaker, I am obsessed with how controlled it is tonally. John Avnet shoots it like a period drama, but the editing and pacing sneak in these genre elements, mystery, tragedy, even a little gothic southern horror. And the performances are doing so much heavy lifting. Mary Stuart Masterson's Idgie has this unspoken queerness that's never labeled but totally central, while Mary Louise Parker's Ruth carries this quiet rage that's just simmering throughout the whole movie. Their relationship, which is loving and loyal and deeply intimate, reads as queer subtext, and it's one of the most fascinating things about the story. It gives it layers beyond its comfort movie surface. So yeah, if you're expecting a fluffy slice of comfort cinema, this one might catch you off guard. It's cozy on the surface, but it's also about what happens when people, especially women, have to build whole worlds out of loss. You might not think this one's for you, but I promise there's more meat here than it looks like. Or I guess more barbecue. Will the Cinema Psychos crew enjoy this? Let's find out. Welcome to the episode. I'm really excited to be talking with you about this particular episode. We had talked a little bit already about the hidden, spoiler alert, cannibalism in tonight's
Was totally blown away by it.
comfort movie.
I did not have cannibalism on my bingo card when watching this film.
And people who might not even know what they're here to talk about, well, now we're here to talk about fried green tomato.
Not fried green people. Like, it's not that.
Choky chicken is people. It's a reference within a reference.
Yeah.
God, if you've ever watched Rocko's Modern Life, welcome to the show. All the
So
references you're
great.
going to get.
Conglommo, we own you.
My God, it's
I
been
should have done that
forever.
when you were in mid-drink.
You almost got me, and it's busy, so it's a little... So before we launch into talking about the movie, I've told people a little in the liner notes, but you have a podcast called The Cinema Psychos. This is Brian, who's one half
Hi.
of Cinema Psychos. John was unable to be here with us today, but that's all right.
Yeah.
Womp womp.
Want want.
He's still talking about movies somewhere else right now.
He probably is. He probably is. Totally.
Tell our audience about you, how you came to talking about movies, how they can find you, all that good stuff.
Well, my name is Brian Cottington. I'm the show host and producer of the Cinema Psycho Show. We are a movie review podcast. Been going strong for nearly 10 years.
Yeah, man.
Next April 1st will mark 10 years. So
Okay.
It's kind of crazy. But yeah, so my background is in film. I'm a indie filmmaker myself. Made a number of short films. I think I've done upwards of like maybe 20 or 30 short films in my time. have yet to make the jump to feature. That is something that I've always wanted to do. But like with most things, making a feature costs time and money. I have neither. So the podcast kind of came about because at the time I was working a job where I did not really have a creative outlet. And I was, I kid you not, reading an article by Kevin Smith in which he was talking about how if you're an indie filmmaker, you should absolutely have a podcast because it allows you to generate a audience. So I was like, well, that's a cool idea. Let me go and try that. And so I got together with two of my very good friends, John Woolscroft and my former co-host Lane, who were married at the time, but we kind of got together and we created the Cinema Psycho. And it was funny because at the time I had proposed doing a movie podcast, and John was like, I've never done a podcast before. I'm like, well, don't worry. It's just us bullshitting about movies like we already do. So it's like, don't worry about it. Like, we just talk about movies. And so that's kind of how we started. And it's only been over time that we've changed the podcast a bit. We used to do kind of like just movie news and then we go into a review, but now we've kind of honed it down to where we pretty much dive into review and also bring on guests like yourself, right? Like, so, bringing on guests like you, KT, has been something relatively new for the podcast. We used to not bring on guests. We used to just kind of shoot from our own hips, but, in one, trying to grow the podcast, but also two, trying to network with like-minded podcasters like you. I started to kind of push for us to add more guests and bring people on as guest reviewers, kind of like what you do here. So, and it's actually allowed us to really grow the show and meet amazing people like yourself. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. Like we jumped to video about 2 years ago and we're slowly beating that video train. And my whole thought process on podcast is I'm just gonna run out the clock in terms of like be number one, because I'm like, there's always gonna be someone else. Like eventually they're gonna stop. So if I just keep going, I'll eventually replace them because they'll stop.
Yeah, Energizer Bunny status. Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm like, I just keep going.
That's fantastic. Yeah, and I totally empathize with the addition of a video and the guests. I've always had guests, but I will always say this, that like at first I did 2 a month, and it's hard to work bookings and everything around everyone's lives. So, adding in a guest is fun, but it also makes it a little extra spicy. And then you have to add in video if you want to be succeeding right now, which is also like, shit, I like doing a podcast with like no makeup on and PJs at whatever the fuck time.
That was a struggle at first because there would be times where, and I don't know if you ever did this, but like we would batch record episodes. So we would do like 3 at a time, but it was easy because we're just like, yeah, no worries. It doesn't matter if we do it at 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday. We're going to knock them out. Don't worry. You just crawl out of bed and do them. But now it's like, well, I got to get the lights set up and I have to shave maybe and bathe and put this crazy light thing on, and John has to do the same thing on his end. So yeah, it's a thing now where we pretty much do once a week, and the way we kind of produce our show is now to the point where I can knock out an episode recording wise and have it done after we're done recording. So it's the workflow that's really helped evolve it.
Yeah, I think you can get really stuck in the weeds over editing stuff. Especially when it's supposed to be conversational. I don't think it needs a heavy
I don't do that
editing
anymore.
hand.
I've known podcasters just because my day job is actually working for a podcast company. So I've known podcasters who are like, I've got to edit out every and on. I'm like, dude, don't do that. Like, we're not radio here. And two, the amount of time and energy you do when you do that, it takes away from the other things that you have to do, like marketing your show and making the show notes and all that other fun stuff, where it's like, if you spend all your time doing the editing, the ums and ahs and all that stuff, you don't have to. Like, if you get like 80% of the way there, you're good.
Yeah. I mean, if somebody has to stop to let the dog out or go to the bathroom,
That's
you can easily cut that out. But,
Yeah.
I do batch recordings for stuff on TikTok, and I do the like different t-shirt, hair up, hair down, a little bit wet, squiggy, and you're like, just to make it look a little different.
TikTok. I still have not mastered TikTok yet. I just did like one of my first because usually what I'll do is I'll like cut up an episode and I'll post that up, And that's been successful. That's actually what's helped grow our TikTok, has just been those little, like, very tight little miniature nuggets of the podcast. But I've known people like yourself and my friend Jordan the Grey Witch who do very much just like the green screen and filming on their phone for TikTok. And I still have yet to do that fully. I did like one on Halloween because I was like, well, it's Halloween. I probably should go and do like my top 3 movies that you should watch. And it felt so awkward. I'm not there yet.
That's the thing, is the, like, it really does feel like if you're doing, I look at it as an acting exercise. It's like if you're doing daily soap opera television, where you're doing it so much that you're getting over the fear of doing it, the awkwardness of doing it. You're learning the lines way quickly because the text is just coming at you. I got to get this right. I got to shoot this out. I at least basically structure the stuff I'm doing because it's mostly trivia based. And then I also get to practice my favorite thing ever, which is my Micro Machines voice, because you have
Your Micro Machine.
See, how fast can I say this and still be articulate?
I love how only us of our age will get the Micro Machine voice reference. Like, someone else is going to be like, what the hell is she talking about? Listen, there was a time when we had a Micro Machines voice guy who would come on and do a commercial about Micro Machines, and he would talk really, really fast, like that sort of thing.
Yeah, and Micro Machines being little tiny,
Yes.
tin cars. Is that right?
They were tin cars. Yes.
They sound
yes, they were
1,000 years old.
No, you're not 1,000 years old.
We used to play with tin cars.
Back in my day, just like with fried green tomatoes, back in my day, we played with tin cars and we had to blow into our cartridges to put into something called an NES. Can you imagine playing video games on a cartridge?
Trying to even explain some of the bases of the games we used to play to my nieces and nephews. They're like, the circle was chased by a ghost and he had a wife. Yeah.
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 Yeah. 2 plumbers. One was green. The other one's red.
Fighting King Kong.
Fighting demented turtle. And, jumping on mushrooms. And then eating said mushrooms. Like, that's the thing I doesn't understand. Like, it's like, jump on the mushroom or the Goomba, and then you eat the mushroom. But they look the same.
I mean, it's cannibalism. I guess he's not a mushroom, so it's not cannibalism. It's just more deliciousness.
Yes.
I do love that the reason you had to blow on the cartridges was not even because they were dusty. It was because we were little fucking shit kids, and when we would blow, we would spit like crazy, and you were...
Yes, we would.
Creating more conductivity because the pins had been eroded on the inside of the machine. You can buy replacement pins, and I've fixed my old NES, and now it plays without having to blow into it because I don't need to be lightheaded at 40. It's not good.
But I'm just going to ask you, you still blow into the cartridge, don't you?
Every once in a while, only on RBI Baseball, because that was the one that always needed it.
I don't know. I had the it was like the combo cartridge where it had like Mario and Duck Hunt and the track and field game that you always lost the trackpad. So it's like, we're not gonna play that game. So like that one always had to have the thing blown on. But it was, for me, it was that, and then the Batman game. Batman game was the shit back then.
We were not allowed to have the track one. My dad said we would break the pad by running on it, which is the function of the pad.
That's what you're supposed to do, is run on it. Like, that's literally... So let me get straight. Your dad was like, don't run on the pad, but here's a gun. Have fun. You can play Duck Hunt.
Yeah,
go shoot the TV. But don't run the pad.
But don't break this object by using it in its desired and functioned way.
No.
That being said, those pads are always broken, so...
Well, ours was always lost. We lost the pad. So it's like, well, we can't play the trackpad game anymore because we lost it.
Before we go into the movie, I would like to ask you the following 3 questions. These are the 3 questions that I ask every person on the show. It's kind of my inside the actor's studio questions. I used to ask people what their top 4 was, but I found that people can be a little performative, 1, or become absolute deer in headlight, 2. They don't know what to say, or their answer is like, I know you. I know that that's not the movie you're going to put on when we're done here. You're not putting on Godard. You're going to put on Goofy movie. Like,
not going to put on Godard.
And let's face it here, a Goofy movie, one, not the sequel, has the composer from No Country for Old Men. The Coen Brothers
Oh,
composer
shit.
did the yeah, they had to tone down the soundtrack he came up with and make it a little bit more Disney. He wanted a way more
That
like
sounds
gritty version, but
that sounds very on brand for Disney. Hey, here's a piece of art. Dumb it the fuck down.
I don't like that. So my first question for you in this, since we're speaking of Disney and most people say Disney, what is the first movie you can remember seeing?
So the first movie I can remember seeing, and I guess I mean I'll have a retort for that, but I would say probably The Little Mermaid.
Okay.
Yeah, The Little Mermaid is one I distinctly remember seeing that one first in theaters.
Mhm.
But I would say the first movie that made me fall in love with movies was Batman
The
from
T-
1989.
The Tim Burton Batman.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. That
Well-
movie made me fall in love with film.
What was it about it?
Everything. Like it's hard to boil down to. So like I was 5 years old when Batman came out. Well, actually, technically I was 4, but I fell in love with the character. I fell in love with the world that Tim Burton and Anton first built for that character. I fell in love with this just dark nature, the Danny Elfman score, Michael Keaton's acting, everything about it just like struck the deepest core inside of me. And it's been a thing where I played that movie till the fucking thing broke. Like the VHS tape broke because it just it struck such a chord in me that I became obsessed with it. And it's a thing where I am 40 years old and I remember my mom telling me, "You're going to grow out of this." I'm like, "I don't think I am." And I still haven't. So it's a thing where I love that film so much. And yeah, as an adult and as someone who's studied film, I see problems with it. Like I definitely see the deficiencies with it. It's like with anything, once you study it, you start to see the things that maybe you really loved and see them in a different light. But I still to this day, like it's in my top echelon. And it is one of the films that just made me fall in love with the medium and really become someone who loves movies. It isn't the one that made me want to become a filmmaker, though. It was the one that made me just fall in love with film in itself.
Fascinating. Is there a different one that made you want to become a filmmaker?
Yes. Yeah. Hellraiser.
Wow, not what I was expecting. You need to say more words.
So when I was in high school, I saw Hellraiser for the first time. And like I knew I wanted to do something creative, like I didn't know yet what it was going to be. I wanted to like at the time do special effects makeup because I was like, hey, I like doing that. I like art. Art might be a cool thing. The teacher I had at the time was like, hey, there's a problem though. Special effects makeup artists don't really make any money, and he's still not wrong. So, I took a film class. Well, it was a TV class in high school, and I caught the film bug roughly around the same time that I saw Hellraiser, which is around, I'd say, senior year of high school. So I saw Hellraiser, took the same film, the TV class, and like they all converged this time, and I'm like, this is what I want to do. Like, this is why I want to study. I want to be the guy who makes things like this, who makes horror movies that are way more than just slashers. Like Hellraiser to me is a modern Gothic tale in a sense. Like it's got everything. It's got the spooky fucking house. It's got the monster. It's got multiple monsters if we throw the Cenobites into it. It's got mystical things in there because it's got, the puzzle box and that whole mythos. But it's also got some weird romantic elements to it, which remind me a little bit of some of the the Hammer films of the day. So like it struck a chord like I could make this. Like I thought I'm like I want to make this sort of thing. And so yeah, that was the film that I was like I want to make movies.
I do think a lot of independent filmmakers talk about horror as the first kind of jumping in point. It's when filmmakers talk about it, it's in this beautiful way where we're like, it was so inviting because I could see that it was something that maybe I could do. And I think people hear what people outside of the industry hear is, yeah, because it looked cheap and easy and anybody can do it. And you're like, no, because it seemed almost attainable versus like when you watch a like $500 million film like Avatar, you're like, I don't know what that's ever going to be like.
it's totally a thing. And I think it's also a thing where like movies of a certain age feel more attainable than they do now. Like even though
Fair.
we have technology now that anyone can become a filmmaker, you literally can use your phone and shoot stuff honestly at the same par to some point of movies that were maybe really popular 10 to 20 years ago. But
Mhm.
it's still a thing where, in the 80s and the early 90s, especially with horror, they had to get by with such small budgets. They had to be inventive with their effects, with their gags, with the story. And yeah, don't get me wrong, some of them were just cash grabs, that's going to be the nature of the beast there. But if you watch the ones that really stuck around for a while, the ones that end up getting put to like through Vinegar Syndrome or Snaps Films or any of these other, boutique studios, they're cheaper films, but they have like a story. They have some heart to them. They've got meat to them because they had to make up for these lower budgets,
Yeah. Yeah. Nobody theoretically there, I can cite some examples, are going to put a terrible script and a shit budget together and just go film it for the sake of filming it. But, sometimes you want a tax write-off and
Right.
that's what happens.
Well, I mean, it's funny you bring that up. It's like, the age of the tax write-off budget film, big budget film that we're at now, you wouldn't see that in the 80s and 90s. You'd see the movie
Mhm.
still get put out there. But now it's to the point where it's like, David Zaslav at Warner Brothers is going to be like, well, I know we made Batgirl. I know we've done everything, but I need to write off, X amount of dollars this year on taxes. So we're just going to not release it.
Which they tried to do with Wile E. Coyote versus
Yep.
Acme, which I am desperate to see. So I'm very glad that it got picked up and put out. Like, that was sinister. But then you hear stuff like Texas Chainsaw Massacre was meant to fail because it was supposed to launder money for the mob. And that's why it was constructed in the way that it was.
The original one?
Yes.
Yeah. They must have
Okay.
missed that part in the Ed Gein documentary that was on Netflix. They mentioned that part there.
Well, the mob, this part gets cut
Yeah.
out. You've partially answered my question number 2, so I'm going to tag it with a little bit something different. The question 2 I always say to people is, what is your comfort movie, or what movie do you think you've seen more than any other? And it can be for multiple reasons. I've actually seen Sniper like 200 times, but against my will. So that is my answer, but it's not a comfort movie for me. It's a trauma movie for me. You're going to say Batman, and I want to ask, is there a specific scene that you would always play, or did you always play it beginning to end?
Always played it beginning to end. I think for me, the one scene that I constantly go back to, and it's one that honestly, like, it always causes, and I don't know if you ever get this too, and I think only certain cinephiles get this, but there are certain scenes in movies which cause goosebumps to like rise up,
Uh-huh.
and it's the best fucking feeling ever. So for me, it's the Flugenheim Museum scene, the scene where he drops down, and the whole Batmobile sequence, all of that. I love that thing because it's like, this is Batman at his fucking apex. You can't get any better than this. The cathedral scene's great. I think it's a little long in how it drags it out. I'm almost wondering, is Tim Burton just trying to pad this runtime at this point? Yeah, that's probably it. But yeah, the Flugenheim Museum is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful sequence.
And it's funny because I can hear the music, like, oh man, that soundtrack is so. Sometimes when you think of a scene,
toys,
it's like, it's so evocative to get the whole experience pulled back out of it, and I think that's really what's important about that movie.
Yeah,
good choice.
Another one that I'd say that I also go back to that's not Hellraiser is Lucky McKee's May from 2.
I don't know that one.
Oh, that's a good one. So it stars Angela Bettis, and it's a modern-ish retelling of Frankenstein. So yeah, Angela Bettis plays this girl, May, who is in essence really struggling to kind of like make friends. Like she's kind of a social pariah type person. She doesn't know how to socialize. She doesn't know how to talk to people. And the whole movie is a struggle for her just to get connection. Something that I think us as humans, crave. And it's one of these movies that I look at it and go like, I think everybody can feel the way that May feels from time to time. Difference is that May takes it into an unhealthy obsession because she finds that she likes parts of people, and Yeah, that's when she talks to like her doll, and yeah, and then she starts to like cut people up and turn them into a friend. She makes a friend, but it's a great film. It's a great indie film. It's one that I anyone who's a filmmaker, and it's like kind of like that we were talking about horror movies being kind of a gateway. That's another movie that I watch. I'm like, yeah, you can make this. This is not hard, but it's one that I discovered like most film people, when you go to like a Hollywood video or a Blockbuster and you're just like, this week we're going to grab this movie. I don't care what title it is. We're just going to see. And that was one that I just like grabbed it because I liked the cover and I fell in love with the film. And I'm like, this is a good one. So I own it. And that's one that I watch all the time as a comfort.
I found myself missing picking movies that way, and so I'll sometimes scroll through big lists on Letterboxd, like the top 250 somethings. And not because I care about what the list is, because I just want to see a bunch of covers of stuff. And then I'll just pick one because I like the cover, because I miss that experience, because finding a movie like this is wonderful.
Yeah, I went to Vinegar Syndrome. They have a storefront where I live in Pittsburgh.
You lucky bitch.
Yeah, I know. So I got to go there this past weekend, and man, I was getting complete flashbacks to that time period where you're just walls of nothing but movies. And like, it was so glorious. I told my wife, I'm like, this is fucking heaven. It's like, I mean, I would go broke in an instant. I didn't buy anything, but it was one of those things where it's just like, walls and walls of movies, ones you've never heard before, some you have seen, some you've never seen, some you didn't even know existed, like all of them just right in front of you in one room. And there's something to that. I think the same thing for people who love libraries and love bookstores. It's the same thing for us cinephiles, right? The closest thing I've got to it digitally has been Tubi, honestly. Like, Tubi is the one place where I do feel a little bit like that.
I would encourage you to check out Plex as well. Kind of has everything. And you can also add to Plex. My friend has a Plex account, and he's given me access to his, and like continues to add stuff all the time. And that's why I see some of my truly most random things. I'm like, hey, I want to see this.
I didn't know that you could get other people's Plex stuff, or is it just like it's a community of movies being shared?
It is, to a certain extent. So maybe I should not say too much.
Maybe you should cut this part out.
Yes, people have their own drives, and you can give access to each other, as well as there are a lot of copyrighted free. So it's a little bit similar to the internet database. Like you can sometimes watch a movie on that.
Yeah.
Similar to that. Cool. I mean, like, really, I don't think the stuff I watch on that is like, I want to see a documentary about a Chinese martial artist that came out in the 1970s and is maybe translated into English. Like, nobody's going to fight me for this.
No one's going to fight for that. I would be surprised if someone's like, hey, KT, we saw that you watched this movie that we are making 5 cents off of after 10 years.
Dare you? You supported the artists.
You don't support the artists because you didn't want to pay the, $50 to go ahead and buy the DVD that's out of print and will never be printed again, by the way. It's one of those out of print ones that like, it ain't come back. But
you didn't want to bother somebody on Poshmark, see if you could get it. I love finding Poshmark accounts that are clearly angry girlfriends who've been left with their ex-boyfriend's physical media collection.
I've never seen this. This is the real thing?
I stalk Poshmark and Mercari for that exact thing, and that's usually how I get my Criterion Collection DVDs for like $5.
I'm going to have to check this out because I've been wanting to build myself a media server of my own physical media, and I might need to find some more physical media. So I'm going to have to check out Poshmark to see if I can steal some film bros pilfered films.
Treat Becky nicer and she won't secretly sell your shit.
Yeah, seriously.
Actually, I need to check out something in Northampton, Mass that has just opened up, and I haven't gotten a chance to go out to it. They opened in Northampton a cooperative video rental service. It's a physical place you can go to, and people in town are donating their old DVDs and VHSs to this location. You get a membership, and you can just take out like a library, but it's all movies.
Yeah, I don't know if I would part with my collection. It's right back there. It's small but mighty.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't get rid of these. I will
No.
never sell these. These are like, you don't get rid of your records. I'm not getting rid of my DVDs.
I get into a fight with my husband because I have a tiny, like 15-inch TV with a VHS built in. And he's like, when are we going to get rid of this? And I'm like, when I don't have VHSs, I need to play, which is never. So never.
Hey, my wife wants to get a VHS player because of the fact that we want to get back into physical media. Like me, I have a handful of VHS tapes that I got from when a Hollywood Video closed down because they were like, we're getting rid of these. I'm like, good, because I'm taking them. And it's one of those things where she's like, we now need to get a VHS player. So don't ever get rid of that VHS player, ever.
I highly recommend going fully whimsical with it. If I had to buy another VHS player, I would buy one of those like Shrek TV ones with it built in, or the Mickey one with the TV built in.
Classic.
Just have fun. You want to watch 2001: A Space Odyssey on a Shrek TV. I believe that is how it was intended to be seen.
I mean, probably. You're not half wrong.
So, final question in our pre-interview is there a story or video game, comic book, something that has not yet been made into a movie that you desperately wish would be?
Comic book or movie that I would like to see made into
It could be a
movie.
book or anything, just something that's
Book?
a story that you know of. It could even be like this old Russian story I used to be told as a kid. Something that you're like, this should be a movie.
I mean, I will be honest with you. I and this is basic bitch territory. I love Clive Barker stuff. So like in grad school, I had to, for my screenwriting class, we had to adapt a story into a screenplay.
Yeah.
So I chose one of Clive Barker's like his short stories that he did. It was one that featured Harry D'Amour, and I liked it so much. I'm like, this is really cool. So I adapted it into a screenplay for class, and then I turned this. I actually used that screenplay then again for another class, which was our sound class. So I like did all the voices of the characters, and like I had to voice a demon, but I actually like made my voice modulate and stuff.
Nice.
So I think if I could, I would probably take what the hell is it? The Scarlet Gospels, and adapt that, because it's like that's Harry D'Amour and it's Pinhead, and man, like that battle would be awesome.
That's actually a really great segue into talking about this movie. And people who are listening are like, how on earth is that a great segue? Because we're talking about screen adaptations. And you can, from a book to a movie, you can kind of be like, that's a process. And that is technically what has happened here. Fried Green Tomatoes. The book is called Fried Green Tomatoes at the Whistle Stop Cafe, which is technically the title that this film has everywhere except for the United States, because U.S. test audiences said, it's too long. And we had to shorten it.
We don't. U.S. test audiences, well, just U.S. audiences in general, we don't got time for more words in our titles, just like we don't got time for, anything that isn't giving me, some sort of hook in 5 seconds. Like if you don't give me that in 5 seconds, I can't do it.
Yap, get to the point. You're like, give me 20 seconds to tell you the full history of how this works.
It's like, no. It's like, you gotta grab me in 5 seconds, dude, because I'm going to the next one. It's like, okay. When did attention spans like get measured in nanoseconds?
I'm sorry, what were we talking about?
Yeah.
No.
Fried green cannibals.
Fried green cannibals. This book adapted technically, because it got a nomination for its screen adaptation. It didn't get the win. I'm going to have to put in the errata at the end who actually did get the win, because I was going to look it up, but then I went to the bathroom and I forgot. Now I'm remembering that I forgot. So sorry, guys. I'll tell you who won the Oscar that year, but it wasn't Carol Sobieski. She technically according to interviews, she put in a script that everyone hated. Then they made Fanny Flagg, the original writer, try and do a script version of it. And she found the whole process really upsetting because they kept trying to make her change the story and change aspects of it. And it was too much for her. So the director...
I wonder what aspects they wanted to change. I've got theories on what aspects they wanted to change for audiences in 1990, 1991.
Yes. Avnet winds up fixing it, and he doesn't get the nomination. Fanny Flagg and Sobieski get the nomination. So this movie is wrought with a little bit of like, we don't know how to totally adapt it. And in fairness, in the original book, it is pretty explicit that they are at least involved in a very romantic relationship. It doesn't talk about any sex. It doesn't use the word lesbian, but there's no ambiguity there. This has so you're exactly the same age as me, so this reference is going to land. This movie has the ambiguity of when we used to watch Supermarket Sweep, and the two contestants would come on and they'd be like, we're roommates for the last 10 years and we own a theater prop making company. And you're like,
we're just very good friends.
Totally good friends, and we share a pug.
We share a pug. And what do you like to do on weekends? We like to go on bike rides together. We do everything together. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
And so like you come so close to being clearly a couple, but we can't say that. And that is obviously what happened in the rewrites here. Most of the rewrites come into cutting that back and reassigning that, as well as the weirdest thing, the ninny and Iggy aspect.
Yeah, so first of all, like, I know they're trying to cut back on the relationship between Ruth and Iggy. I gotta be honest with you, this was the first time I'd seen this film, okay? Because I was not someone who was like, I really want to go watch Fried Green Tomatoes as a kid. My wife was a fan of it, but I just was like, it's not my thing. You know, so upon first watch this, I'm like, yeah, it's not even hidden very well. Like, looking at this again through like 2025 eyeballs, it is blatantly obvious that they are absolutely in a lesbian relationship, and it's a loving lesbian relationship, and it's one that is, in my opinion, really beautiful as well as not exploitative. Other movies that I have seen where you do have two women or two men, it always kind of goes into this like exploitative side of it, and I'm like, that's not how any relationship is. Like, that, you know what I mean? Like, they almost feel like, oh, we've got to throw sex in there because, oh yes, it's two people of the same sex having sex in a relationship. Oh, that's weird. It's like, that's, you have in this movie these two women who clearly do love each other, who are, companions. They live their lives together. They're there for each other at the most worst parts and the best parts. And like, that's a real relationship, whether it be two women or two men or opposite sex, like that's what it is. So I respected the fact that this movie, even though I know that the author had to cut back on stuff and found that really hard, the thing is that very much shines through that these two women do love and care about each other, and that they have a real domestic partnership there. It's just in this backdrop of the worst time period in history at the worst physical location in that time period, the South.
Yes. And you're right. Like, so many times we get these stories about, romantic entanglements, especially because, Ruth is a little bit older than Iggy. So this could easily wind up being a call me by your name. And you're like, oh, it's the power dynamic and all this other stuff. But like, in the way that they wind up making it so unspoken and tangential and loyal, it winds up being a really loving representation of a same-sex marriage, and that's not even really the key point of the story. So making that tangential kind of humanizes gay couples at a time period where people were like, we don't like gay people, but we love Ruth and Iggy, and you're like, haha, we hid the vegetables in your mac and cheese.
Yes. If that's a good analogy for it. It does very much feel like that. Regarding the whole Ninny and Iggy thing, I mean, I totally was like, Ninny is Iggy. Like, come
did
on.
you think Ninny is?
I'm like, one, from a storytelling perspective, there is no way in fucking hell that Ninny knew all of the nuances of every little story that she was telling, what's her face? Evelyn Couch. There's no way. I didn't write that, but I wouldn't know if I'd pick that name. But either way, I'm like, there's no way she knows all of these nuances that she isn't Iggy. Like, and I'm also like, she's 7 years old. So maybe not all the faculties are firing on all cylinders at that point. So, we already know that she was that Iggy was a storyteller.
She's a tall teller. Yeah. She loves to tell tall tales, right?
So why would she not at age 87 be telling tall tales about herself?
And it drives me insane because if you're watching this again, like I watched it twice in a row because my husband wanted to watch it again with me. There's a lot of graphic match between the fabric that they put Ninny, Jessica Tandy in the, because they're such big outfits, and then the fabric that you see Ruth and Iggy in the very next scene, almost as if to be like it was cut from the same cloth. Maybe this is left
I
over.
didn't notice that.
Yeah, and she has the picture of Ruth on her nightstand, and
Yeah.
there's the honey on the and she winks. What if I told you in the book it's very, very clear that Ninny is her entirely own person, and that is not supposed to be part of the story?
I mean, I would buy that. I'd also say that if I'm making a movie version of this, it makes way more sense to make Ninny Iggy than have her be a separate person.
It wasn't even going for that. That is just
Really?
what everybody who watches the movie sees, because I feel like all of the things we just said makes us come to this conclusion. But the writers, they all were like, no, we just needed a reason to go, oh, that, oops.
Bullshit. I'm calling bullshit on that. I'm calling bullshit on the writers right there. I'm calling bullshit just from the last fucking scene. Like literally, Evelyn looks up the note and is like, Iggy's still out there? And just Jessica Tandy's like, uh-huh, you might meet her.
What she's trying to
Get
say
it?
is that, like, the stories keep Ruth and Iggy alive. So yeah, she's still alive because I'm still telling stories about her, and I keep putting honey there to make people believe it. But what we've read, what you've just said, makes way more sense, guys. You didn't tell that story.
I'm just telling you, I read it as like, yes, Ninny and Iggy are the same person, and of course they are.
Yeah.
And it just makes more sense. From a movie perspective, it makes more sense. I get that in the book it didn't work, but just for movie it does.
Yeah. And then they do a sequel to the book where Ninny is still a character. So you're like, oh yeah, no,
Did they make a sequel to the book? Because I didn't know that.
There is a sequel to Fried Green Tomatoes at the Whistle Stop Cafe called The Wonder Boy of the Whistle Stop Cafe. And we meet Buddy, the one-armed son of Ruth.
It's not about Buddy's arm? It's not about that?
It's not. So technically it's about Stumpy. He's escaping a retirement home trying to get back to the Whistle Stop Cafe, and they do that same juxtaposition about his life in Maryland and everything like that. But I did think that scene was so silly but so necessary because it had been so maudlin and so sad that the point where you're like, the fucking kid, spoiler alerts, of course, although if you're listening to this, you're going to get spoiled. The fucking kid got hit by the train, and you're like,
yeah, I saw that scene and I'm just like, maybe you shouldn't name your son Buddy. Like maybe
and then let him play on the train tracks.
Maybe we don't name him after your dead ex-boyfriend and your girlfriend's brother. Like maybe we don't name him after that. We don't name him that guy. And then say, yes, go play on the train tracks, child. There's no problems. And then he's gonna lose a fucking arm.
There's something about
of course it's gonna get run over by a fucking train.
Something about the expectation for it to be too much, and then the filmmaker being like,
I love that though. I love, like, when I saw that like the camera
it.
pans down and you're just like, his arm. I'm like, okay, movie, good job, movie.
Because otherwise I might have checked out a little bit. That'd have been too much.
Well, there's a lot of funerals in this movie. Like it's almost like after every story that Ninny/Iggy says, it ends up turning into a funeral scene.
Yeah. Yeah. And so when we talk about this movie and why we kind of picked it for you, you had said you'd never seen it, but your wife really likes it and that it was kind of pushing you towards seeing it. What were you expecting going in?
I don't know. I was expecting something that was not like, basically, I here's the thing. I am a white man in my 40s who's bald with beard, and I was not expecting a movie that could talk to me, if that makes sense. I respect the fact that movies are not for every audience, and I don't think they should be. I think that certain movies speak to certain audiences, just like everything speaks to certain audiences. And I did not think that Fried Green Tomatoes was meant for me. I didn't think it was a movie that was talking to me.
Valid.
And so,
Valid.
I didn't ever was like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna really watch that. Yeah, everyone's like, oh, it's a good movie. It's like, yeah, it's not my thing. So when I got to sit down and watch it, even though clearly I'm not the audience, I did see a lot of things that I'm like, this is just an all around good film. And I think that something to point to is, and the kind of the crux of your whole show is that you kind of have to give every movie a little bit of a chance and taste it, even if it's not necessarily meant for you. I still don't think I was the audience. I think honestly, someone. No, I'm being honest. I still don't think so because here's the thing. I know that a couple that is in the LGBTQ plus community is going to get a lot more out of this film than me, and that's okay because this movie I really do believe talks to them first. But I can see stuff with those characters. I can see commonalities with those characters, the way they love people and, that we build these relationships. I can see that with me and my wife and that sort of thing. So I think there is connections that can be made, but I definitely still believe that I am not the prime audience for this, which is okay,
Yeah.
So like watching it again, I enjoyed it. I definitely was into it. And I love the fact that it broke up these moments of high drama and kind of sappiness, but then had these moments of comedy in there that I'm just like, it's funny. Like Evelyn Couch, I think, is fucking hilarious in this.
Kathy Bates
And
really kills it as that character.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, this is Kathy Bates like right after Misery, or I think it was right after Misery.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, you went from playing real crazy to this very sympathetic, kooky type character who has, I think, the worst husband ever. Like he's kind of shitty.
He's broadly written too. Like
he's broadly
no one's
written.
that dumb, right?
I don't know. Like here's the thing is, I think that, and I can't speak for all men. I'm not the representative of all men.
Not all men.
I'm not all men, but I do know that like there was a time period, and this movie is not that far removed from it, where men were like, I'm not gonna fucking make dinner. I'm gonna come home and I should have beer in hand and then food. I don't understand that because I'm like, what are you, a lazy sack of shit? Go get your own food. Go get your own beer. Your wife's not supposed to do that. You do your own thing, or like make it for both of you. Like take turns making food. Like a couple. Instead of this, like, oh, you walk in, where's my beer? Oh, what's this? You made healthy food, but we're fat and dying of diabetes and or heart disease. Where's my heart disease food? Like a lot of that stuff, I imagine that is not that far removed from reality of the time period.
It's hard to like him though, because like there's obtuse where you're like, he comes home and he doesn't know what to expect because of his expectations from the gender of the time period. And then there's Evelyn saying with her words to him while he's sitting there listening what she wants and what she expects, and he still fails to understand or meet those or do anything. And so there's like a certain, like, you're right, he is kind of like an asshole.
He's an asshole. Like, I'm sorry. The guy's, and he's played by, and I forget the name of it, but I know he shows up in almost every Ernest movie. Like, he's not Bobby.
Oh my God.
Fuck,
I didn't realize that until you said it.
He is in every Ernest film. Okay. Yeah, if I don't know his name, but he doesn't, he's like
I'll get it to you in like 10 seconds.
Oh man. But anyway, yeah, he is just kind of a shitty husband. And even when like, what is his name?
Galliard Sartan.
That's a name and a half right there. But he's in every Ernest film, right?
He's got a lot of credits.
Yeah.
Wow. He's in every Ernest film. He plays Chuck in Ernest Saves Christmas.
That's it. Chuck. And he sells the troll spray at the troll store for Ernest Scared Stupid.
Wow. That's a memory that I have offloaded and forgotten about.
And now you're just gonna be like, after we're done recording this episode, I'm gonna watch Ernest Scared Stupid.
I love to watch How Did This Get Made? And one of my
I like that too.
Favorite episodes, they talk about how, like, you forget how hot Jim Varney was.
He was a good looking man. Okay. He was a very good looking man. R.I.P. But anyway, that guy, I find him detestable throughout the whole film. Not Jim Varney, but guy Chuck?
Gillard Sartan.
Gillard Sartan.
Ed Couch, if you will.
Ed Couch. We're going to call him that because that's an easier pronouncing name.
He doesn't
But he's
really
just
seem
terrible.
to learn anything or have a character arc, even by the end when she's like happy and come to this conclusion and is like, this will bring me joy and we have this extra room. He's still like, I don't know about that. You're like, just have the
It's like,
throw us
dude.
a phone. Come on. Either that or
Yeah,
they can get divorced.
I mean, let's be honest here. That's where the sequel of Fried Green Tomatoes would be. The movie version is Kathy Bates will divorce his ass in a heartbeat, because clearly that's the trajectory she's on. She's going to realize that this guy is not supportive of her, that he is the exact opposite of what the relationship that she views as healthy in the stories that Ninny tells her of Ruth and Iggy. So it's like eventually she's gonna be like, yeah, I'm not doing this shit, dude. Like, you're kind of an asshole.
Yeah.
So like that's the trajectory.
Yeah, it's interesting to see her story in parallel to the other story, not really having the love. She does get to start to feel like her own independent. We saw this to see her go on a trajectory where we hope she continues to grow this way. But it's weird for a movie, especially a movie like this, where everything gets so neatly handed to us, to have them be left in that sort of limbo. But I was thinking about Ed particularly because, as you were saying, as soon as I finished watching this with my husband, I said, so how does that feel as a guy watching this movie? Because the only guy in it really that we see is an asshole. And then there's, some people in the past, but we don't even really spend very much time with any of the male characters in the past.
Yeah, I mean, as a guy, I look at it and go like, well, I'm glad I'm not like him. Like, it's like, I never do that shit. Like, I like to think that I'm attentive to my family and that sort of thing. And when you see that shit, you're just like, yeah, I've never just completely ignored person I care about and just been like, yeah, no, I'm gonna ignore you. Let me get my beer and my food and then just walk away and we're not gonna talk at all. And it sucks because like I feel for Kathy Bates because she's just trying to get connection with her husband of all people. Like, and this idiot just ignores her.
Yeah. And she is again and again reaching out in these good faith moments. And you're like, so I guess what Fanny Flagg is showing us is, again, she reaches out for a male character who's not there, and she finds a platonic female character that winds up giving us a type of love that is just as fulfilling as the sexual love that we thought we were supposed to have, but comes from a place we didn't even know we needed. Maybe that's the parallel, Katie. Okay, whatever. Turns out Fanny Flagg, when she released these books in the 80s, was not openly gay at the time. And so she tried to, like, in a lot of the interviews for this movie, she's like, yeah, well, like, they were definitely in a relationship. I wouldn't have used the word lesbian because I don't even think the word lesbian existed when the book was written. And she kind of like dances around it until one of her lovers releases a memoir in like 97 and lists her as a lover, casually forgetting that like she's not technically out. And now Fanny Flagg is like an openly gay writer, and it feels retroactively so obvious. But even still, like, it's so funny how much they had to hide that in there, and yet it doesn't feel hidden at all. In fact, both of the two actresses decided when talking to Fanny about it, they were just going to play it like they were in a relationship together because that's how they read it.
That's how if I was reading the script, that's exactly what I would have thought of. But it's just like that. And it kind of reminds me a little bit of the Wachowski siblings at the time. I mean, at the time you look at movies like Bound and The Matrix and you can see parallels to, obviously like trans community and those sort of things. Like the whole idea of you're translating your mind into a different body, into a different reality, like that is not your own, like that sort of thing. And then looking at them now and, the fact they are now openly trans and that sort of thing. And it's something that, at the time you could be like, oh yeah, no, I didn't think about that at the time the movie came out, but now in hindsight and now seeing that they are openly being who they've always been, it makes those parallels blatantly obvious.
Yeah. It makes scenes like the You're a Bee Charmer scene. Like there's...
Well,
that's very romantic.
I mean, charming ladies, let's be honest here. Iggy knows how to charm them, okay? Just the look that Ruth has as she is watching Iggy go get the bees, it's the same sort of look that you would see in a traditional like romantic film when like a woman is staring at like a muscular guy. Like, those types of movies in the
Yeah.
late 80s, 90s where it's like,
Yeah.
let's slow motion camera pan over all of the muscles. And I'm like, this is the exact same shit. It's the exact same thing.
They're using a male, like this female gaze
Yes.
on the female character. So it's fascinating to be like, how could we not know that this was sexy? The camera is doing the same thing it does when it says sexy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's total male gaze, but it's through Ruth's perspective of looking at Iggy.
Yeah.
And that's why when she says like, I've never seen a bee charmer before, I'm like, I know what you're saying here, Ruth. I know what you're saying here, Ruth.
And it's a real testament to the acting that those two actresses, Mary Stuart Marston and Mary Louise Parker. In fact, to keep them straight on set, because they're both Marys with the second name, they called them Lou and Stu.
I mean, hey, whatever works, right?
Whatever works. It's a real testament to the way that they took the dialogue that they had and they seem to be telling us additional dialogue. Even in the food fight scene, feels like this is the sex scene we didn't get because we couldn't have it.
The director said that as such. Like they literally said like that was the food fight scene was a sex scene.
Yeah,
like
it reads that way.
Which of course, like no duh.
Yeah. I've seen Tampopo. I know what we're dealing with here.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was like, okay. Like, cause I read a little bit about fried green tomatoes before going and watching it. And that was the one thing that popped in. It was like, oh yes, the food fight scene is in fact a love scene. And I'm like, how are they going to play this one? And then I watch them like, okay.
Makes total sense.
Okay. That's total sense.
That's total sense. So we've been talking a lot about the relationship between Iggy and Ruth and the gay aspects and the queer codedness of this movie. I also want to talk about the like murder mystery aspect of it.
This was the thing that honestly like threw me for a loop in how it was all going to be presented, because like I immediately the first opening minutes of this movie is an old truck being pulled up from lake, and like I'm like, okay, murder mystery, how are we doing this? But it kind of comes off as, at least in the way the movie presents it, as a secondary thing to actually I would almost be able to say it's the third most important thing, because it's led up to it, but then we get to the trial and they're just like, yeah, no, don't worry, it all worked out.
Yeah, the trial really does feel like, God, how long is this movie?
Yeah,
it's over.
Yeah, no, I was just like, oh, so that's the end of it, is the trial. Like, oh, okay, what else? I'm like, we still got like 40 minutes left.
And you're like, oh, so Iggy just has to go to church now. Okay.
Yeah, she just has to go to church now. It's like, oh, I guess that sucks. Damn it.
And it's an interesting kind of juxtaposition, because we've seen a few times in the flashbacks the way that small town justice can go the opposite way and be used for lynching African American people at the time, for hurting LGBT people, for all of these ways. And yet the movie decides to be like, what if the town could also use it in a way to insulate and help people? You're like, okay, I love the whimsical, perhaps this didn't happen aspect of it, but okay. Yeah,
this is a part that I was like, this would not happen in the South in the 19s and late 20s. Like, it just, there were some parts of this movie, and I don't know if it was just because our storyteller in this is someone who is an unreliable narrator at times. Like, we do not know. But there were parts in this that I'm just like, that would not happen. Like, I hate to say this, but this is a legacy of this country, is that at that time period, Big George especially would have everything put on him. Like, just, they wouldn't even mention Iggy. They would just go after Big George.
There would never have been a time where they were chasing after, and they wouldn't have needed a body. There wouldn't have been a trial.
Nope.
All of that.
And honestly, like, the trial would not have just been like, oh, well, we're done. The town's, the local pastor said that in his Bible that that he's been recording everything. it would not even get to that point. And that's why I found that stuff to be kind of unbelievable. And, you know, that was the one, I mean, there were a couple of things that kind of made me go like, okay, movie, this is a stretch. That was one of them. The lack of agency from the African-American characters in this film, I felt was a little weird and didn't really help the film. Like, don't get me wrong, like you have these characters like Sipsy and Big George or Big John,
I think
right?
it is Big George. Let me just triple check.
Yeah, I think it's
Big George. Yeah, that's Stan Shaw.
So Sipsy and Big George are there are two main characters that are African Americans, and they align themselves with Iggy and Ruth, but it's a thing where they have no agency. Their characterization is paper thin, and it's like, okay, yes, they're employed by their white friends, but they are still like in this paradigm deep racism, like and persecution because of their skin color. And it's like, okay, well, this it doesn't look good. Like, don't get me wrong, like Iggy and Ruth are clearly allies, but they're allies to a point because of culture.
And they would have been allies to a point, and I'm sure if people were like, this town in Whistle Stop is so fantastical that no one seems to care that clearly Iggy and Ruth are in a relationship together, or that and you get the town cop coming through and being like, I told you to stop, and they're like, we ain't ever gonna stop. So like there's this, like they hang a lantern on it enough to be like, we will address it, we'll say it, but we're just gonna say that the characters here don't care and they're going to stand up in this way. And for me, the only reason that works is because we are at the very beginning, this gets framed around that fantastic story about the lake that used to be in town, the ducks, and they fly away with the lake. And you're like, this has to, at some point when you're listening to that story, no matter how well it's told, you realize that it's bullshit. And I think that that's what's happening with the story. No matter how well Ninny tells us a story, at some point it gets to the point where the ducks fly away with an entire fucking lake. Cute, but obviously not true. And I think there's a lot of things about the racism in this that is cute, but obviously not true.
Yeah, and that was a big one for me, where I'm just like, it's like, I don't get me wrong, like I also have to look at this from a filmmaker perspective and go like, okay, it's 1991. Are our audiences gonna want to see a full-throated display of racism in the 1930s in a film?
No, I mean,
Probably
we're talking about, was it Penny
92
Marsh?
was, well, I was gonna say 92 was when you had like LA riots and things like that, and Rodney King. So it's like, I don't think Hollywood's like, I think we need to clearly show the reality of this situation in the 30s, because I don't think it would have helped their bottom lines. I just don't. And I think they went as far as they could commercially and artistically without pushing the envelope any further. And honestly, what I think they should have done is been more full-throated in the reality to starkly contrast these characters against. But that's my opinion, though.
I think if they remade it now, that would be probably the only reason to attempt to do this film again. I was going to say that Penny Marshall had done A League of Their Own, I think, a year after this movie, and there is an aspect of the African American Women's League that she wanted to include in the story, and they fought her tooth and nail, and she could only have that scene where they toss the ball, and that was the best that she could do. So yes, I do think we are definitely talking, and that's another sentimental, heartwarming kind of history flashback movie in the early 90s. So I definitely would say that they were limited in that capacity. This movie winds up making $80 million. It does great. People love it. So yes, they wanted to financially make sure that was going to happen.
Yeah.
They actually did some really weird tie-ins for this one. I was watching an old
with
advertisement.
Fried green tomatoes?
Old advertisement that you could get previously viewed copies for sale that had been at Blockbusters or stuff like that, and you would buy them through Mary Kay. And
Of course.
And Mary Kay would give you like a free Mary Kay makeup thing. They would give you a free makeover with every previously viewed copy of Fried Green Tomatoes that you got.
Oh my God.
I do love that.
You don't want a makeover in 1991 from Mary Kay. I'm sorry.
No, I do love that the empowerment job that the woman gets is makeup.
Yeah, no, it couldn't be that Kathy Bates gets like a corporate job or any other job that she makes enough money to usurp her asshole husband's paycheck, right? We couldn't have that. That couldn't be the thing. No, it is her side job selling makeup. Okay, movie.
Okay, movie.
Okay, I get what you're saying here. Kathy Bates is good enough to be empowered to go ahead and sell makeup, but she can't make enough money or more money than her husband, because that would be threatening to the man.
And then we really wouldn't know why she stays with him. Like, she should just
really
divorce.
Wouldn't know, yeah.
He should divorce her for the making him feel so lesser.
Can you imagine if there was a scene between Kathy Bates and Ed Couch, if it was just like, hey, I looked at our bank account and it looks like we got a crap ton of money that just came in. And then Kathy Bates says, oh yeah, that was my paycheck, my commission from, or let's say we stick with the Mary Kay because clearly the movie wants us to have that. Oh, that was my commission from Mary Kay. That's more than my weekly salary. Can you imagine if that scene was in there? How many people, women can't make more than men?
That would be too much queer coding. That would just push it right over the edge. That's clearly, yeah. I do think that this movie has to juggle a lot of strange tonal things. Yeah. Like, suddenly we're doing that. We're talking about Mary Kay. We're talking about empowerment of women in the 90s. And then we're dealing with a whodunit murder mystery. But then there's also like a Southern Gothic racism story, but also another story. How did you feel about the shifts? I mean, also it does camera style shifts sometimes as well.
So, I mean, the shifts didn't bother me entirely because the movie sets the ground rules for this sort of thing early on. Like, we are clearly given rules, and that's something that just about every screenwriter and filmmaker, needs to prioritize. Or what are the rules visually and within the bounds of the story for the story to exist? And this movie already sets those up. So for me, it didn't cause issues tonally. Like, I've seen some movies where they clearly don't establish these things early on. And so then it does make these shifts feel like all out of place. Like, where the fuck did this come from? But, it's just kind of talking about Evelyn Couch, Kathy Bates' character. We see her shift played out through this film, and it's tied along with the stories that Ninny is telling us. So, like, as we're seeing what's going on with Iggy and Ruth, we're seeing those things mirrored in Evelyn's struggle. And it's the same struggle, right? It's still the same sort of thing, dealing with similar things, even though they're at completely different time periods. So it doesn't make the shift between these different things as tonally weird because of that paradigm that's already been established.
Yeah. Yeah. The only point in the movie for me where I felt like the tone got weird was the point in which they talk about the cannibalism.
Okay, yeah, that was what the fuck. Like, I literally was like my mouth like dropped.
So whimsical, right?
I'm like, I mean, I don't know if I would use the word whimsical. That's not the word I was thinking. Like, I'm just thinking to myself, like, when did this fucking movie about these two lesbians become a horror movie? In a matter of seconds. Like it goes from, oh yeah, by the way, let me tell you the last bit of the story here you didn't know.
And just it's just like, let me tell you.
Let me tell you something here about that guy who died. Let me tell you about him. But yeah, we fucking chopped his ass up. We then smoked his ass like a pig and fed him to okay, here's the thing. Not only the detective from Georgia, but the whole town.
They fed him to everybody.
Like, that's the thing where I'm going like, this is Sweeney Todd in the South. Like, this is, what the fuck? I literally was just like, Katie, I was just like, what the fuck is going on? They're feeding the guy to the whole town.
Yeah, not to the dogs.
And I'm thinking to myself,
pigs.
I'm like, have they never seen Ravenous? Do they not know that once you get a taste for human, you can't. It's an unquenchable feast of flesh. You must have more. Like, I've seen Ravenous. I know the tale of the Wendigo and how you absorb the strength from the person, and it's an unsatiable appetite. So what? You know what? My God, you know what happened to the fucking town? Let me tell you what happened to the fucking town, because the whole town disappears. They ate each other, and Jessica Tandy's the last one.
I'm just saying, we have a lake that a guy dies in. So we have a monster to come out. We have a lake-based man monster. We have
Lake-based man
cannibalism
monster.
who could lake-based man monster. It's basically a chud.
It's basically a chud.
It's a water-based chud.
Yeah.
Who has a revenge
Clearly.
story. I feel like we could absolutely do fried green flesh at the Whistle Stop Cafe. And
Green flesh.
I think Fanny Flagg would be like, girl, go ahead, take the story, do what she needs to do. And then we would be like, give me $10,000 and I will make this movie.
I don't need a lot of money. I just need $10,000. That's it.
Dollars and a dedicated group of people who see my vision. And I think we could have.
Have you ever watched the Righteous Gemstones?
Yes, every episode.
Okay, we can be like Baby Billy, be like, I need $10,000 and an 8-ball to make this movie.
Exactly. You go with that Baby Billy confidence, I will give you a fantastic movie.
I'm gonna make this movie for $10,000 and an 8-ball of cocaine because I need some gas to get this picture going.
I guarantee it'll be better than Teenjus.
Oh, come on, Teenjus.
Teenjus.
Why do you call him Teenjus? It's
Not
like
Teen Jesus.
No, he's Teen Jesus.
Superb.
My wife
Walter
and I just
Goggins
binged that
is
whole.
superb.
We just binged that whole series like from start to finish, so we're still on that kick, and it's hard. I know this has nothing to do with fried green tomatoes,
It's
but
got
it's
Southern
hard
people
to,
in it.
Yeah, there you go. It's hard to go from that show down to his other shows. Like, it's hard to go from that to Vice Principals because it's very different and
Mhm.
not nearly as good as
Mhm.
Righteous Gemstones. Like, man, so good.
That's so funny because I was literally just talking to someone about that, but with Danny McBride. How if you follow Danny McBride backwards out of Righteous Gemstones, it's not as good because he's writing for himself stuff that he really knows versus being used in other things. It's like, oh yeah, once you can produce your own vehicle, like them really do shine. It's
Although
so
I did
funny.
really like Eastbound and Down. So like that's a
True.
great one.
True. Oh man. So yeah, so by the time we get to the cannibalism, I'm surprised by the way that it's introduced by Ninny. And then I'm gobsmacked that Evelyn asks no additional questions.
I mean, what do you say when this friend of yours that you've known for what? At this point, it's what, at least a year?
Month, maybe a year.
No,
yeah.
I'd say at least a year. Tells you that she committed cannibalism.
Well, that's my first question is Ninny. I guess in this one, Ninny is Ruth. So yes, but it's like, did you?
Ninny's itchy, but yeah.
Itchy? Did you have any of the? Who ate? Did you serve it just to that guy? How? Like, there's so many additional questions.
First of all, that's a whole human. Okay, so there's a lot of cuts of meat on that whole human. There is no way in hell that they only served it to that detective. No way in hell. They served his ass literally to the whole fucking town. Okay? They served it to the whole town. That means the sheriff was getting it, their buddy, he was getting it. Every person in Whistle Stop was eating that guy's ass.
So to speak. It's a really gay movie.
It's a real game. They was eating his ass with the side of barbecue sauce.
So there are beats in this movie. There's a fantastic beat where we lose Ruth, and it's beautiful and it's poignant. But basically, the last beat we get before the like, hey, wink, nudge, maybe Iggy's still alive, is we ate him. It's such a weird thing to put so close to the end.
It's not how I would end the movie. Like, I think I would have ended it on more the Ruth died, like that whole sequence, because it's very heartfelt and drives home just everything. But again, like, I don't understand why they were just like, you know what, we're gonna end this fucking movie on? We're gonna end it on cannibalism because that's what's gonna make it known. Like, that's the holy shit. You didn't know that was coming, did you? You didn't know fried green tomatoes was really a parallel for cannibalism. But guess what it is? You thought you were gonna get some sort of Lifetime type movie. No, no, no. You're getting cannibalism, baby. No, I mean,
Lighthearted cannibalism.
lighthearted cannibalism. Yeah. Yeah. I would have ended it on the whole Ruth's cancer dying. I would not have ended it on cannibalism. That just seems like silly. Also, on top of that, like it throws the timeline of events kind of out the window because the cannibalism happened right after that guy died. And like we see that happen. It's not revealed who hit him. Then we jump to, Ruth dying and all that stuff. And, we kind of wrap up our main narrative and then we get presented with like, oh yeah, by the way, here's what really happened. And it kind of feels like Clue almost, like the movie Clue.
Yes, yes. And it also, like you point out the timeline. So they kill him and smoke him presumably quickly because you want to get rid of the body right away.
Well, yeah, you got it.
How long later does the detective come by? He doesn't come by the next day. And yet he gets served all of the meat. So how does that work out?
I mean, as I said, like they've probably been cooking his ass for like a while.
He's a big guy.
And I mean, there's no refrigeration back then. They're still relying on giant blocks of ice for everything. So like you got to preserve that meat somehow. A lot of curing salt type deals.
A lot of beef
sausages.
buddy, jerked buddy.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I hope your listeners aren't eating dinner while listening or watching to this episode.
Enjoy your bacon salad, your beef
See,
barbecue.
you know what would be hilarious? You know what would be hilarious? Remember the show Dinner and a Movie?
Yes, of course.
Like TVS? Like they should, I mean, I probably did do an episode of it with this, but like they should have done this, but then done barbecue with it because clearly those two would have gone well together.
Obviously, everybody talks about the fried green tomatoes and gives you a recipe for fried green tomatoes. Ironically, in researching this, did you know that fried green tomatoes was never really a Southern dish? It didn't exist.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's made in the Midwest, maybe in the North. Usually, you make it when you're about to have a frost and you don't want your tomato. You have to pick green tomatoes, and so that's really you wouldn't really want to serve this all the time because it's rare that you would do this. Frost happens mostly in the Midwest and the North, so it's not really a Southern problem.
I was going to say the South isn't going to get frost. It's rare.
So this, when Fanny Flagg wrote this, she did write it about her aunt who worked at the Ironside Cafe, which is a real cafe that this is based on, but is in Alabama, not Georgia, which is where they actually filmed in Georgia, even though it's set in Alabama, yada, yada. And they didn't even serve fried green tomatoes. She just kind of made it up because she thought it would be a cool idea. And then retroactively, it has become an iconic Southern dish served all over the South. And there's even, they took the location that was the filming location for the Whistle Stop Cafe. It was just a house at the time, left it as a Whistle Stop Cafe, and it still functions as a restaurant you can go to today and get fried green tomatoes at. But yeah, the dish has been popularized backwards because of the movie saying it was a popular dish and it never was.
That's hilarious. Like that never happens. You never see a movie that's contemporary cause a cultural thing to occur, right? Like that rarely ever happens, especially with like a food. Like I know I can't think of any food that's like been birthed because of the only thing I can think of is like Wonka bars, like that coming to existence because of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yes,
that's the only one that I can think of. The whole idea of Wonka chocolate bars and Gobstoppers, like that growing out of the movie, right?
Yeah.
Not because someone's like, yes, we've always had gobstoppers, let's write a book about it and then turn it into a movie. No, it's like, nah, this came because of the movie through promotion, and now it's become a popular thing.
Yeah. At best, I can think of how Tampopo brought ramen to the United States because people watched the movie and were like, I didn't know that. Try that. Yeah, they because we all saw that movie and it sounded really cool. The people who owned the location, they opened one in New York and they even called it Tampopo just so that we wouldn't get confused. And people were like, let me get that soup. And we've been insane ever since. But what I think is also so funny about fried green tomatoes is so many people have this like Mandela effect of being like, no, I heard that it was like a slave dish that they used to serve. And like every single story you've ever heard about it is just a lie. It was like people made it some of the time. It did technically exist, but this movie made it a Southern classic.
Interesting.
Crazy.
It's crazy.
Do you have a favorite scene from the movie and a least favorite scene from the movie?
The cannibalism whole scene is my absolute favorite because I just was like, I mean, it threw me for a loop. Like that whole thing, I did not see that one coming. It caused my jaw to drop while watching it.
Fantastic.
And I'm just like, I did not know that this is where the film was going. So like that whole sequence revealing what happens to that guy and the fact they fed him to the town, like that's I think my favorite. I think my least favorite is when Chris O'Donnell dies, because he dies in such the fucking dumbest ass way. Yeah,
So
like
stupid.
I was like one, I realized Chris O'Donnell was gonna die just from the simple fact that this is 1991 Chris O'Donnell. So this is before he became really famous for like Mad Love and Batman Forever and became a household name. So I'm like, oh, this is an early Chris O'Donnell movie. Yeah, he's fucking dead. So like as soon as you see him swinging on like the rope right where the bridge is at, I'm like, oh, what's gonna happen? He gonna die? When's that gonna happen? And then when it happened, I was like, oh, of course. But yeah, he dies in the most like dumbest ass way possible while trying to impress Ruth and everyone. I'm like, just leave the fucking hat go, dude. But he gets his foot caught in the thing. I'm like, of course you did, because you're dumb.
He wedges his foot in. He's like, I walk by wedging my feet. Chop, 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 chop. Yeah, and then can't untie the boot until the last second, goes after a meaningless hat. Everything about that is so like, we gotta fridge this character quick. At least it's a dude.
It totally was. Let's fridge his character quick. And I was like, of course you're gonna get your shoe that has a bajillion laces because we're in 1920 and you can't untie your shoe properly. And like, of course you're gonna get stuck in a railroad tie because of course you are. And you go out, real weak.
Yeah. And of course you're like, even though you're on the train tracks and you should be able to feel the vibrations and we can hear trains for quite a while, we're not going to notice the train is coming until it's quite upon you.
Plus, I'm sorry, but one, I would never, ever walk on train tracks to begin with. Like, in my entire life, I have never just been like, I am going to walk on train tracks for any reason. And maybe it's paranoia, maybe it's because of movies like this, but I'm if a hat or something's on the train track, guess what? It's gone.
It's gone.
It's gone.
Fucking gone.
It's a fucking hat, dude. I also know that had he not died, the movie wouldn't happen.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Because let's be honest here, Ruth would have ended up with Buddy.
With Buddy. Yeah, absolutely.
And, yeah.
And to a certain degree, maybe Iggy is grown up the way that she is because she's trying to become the brother she lost. Like maybe he could have helped her, feels like she's trying to be him, and that's part of why Ruth is so attracted to Iggy is because she's embodying everything that she lost when her brother died. Plus, as these film viewers who look at the cover, you know that Chris O'Donnell is not on the cover of this.
Yeah.
So he can't possibly stay alive
for
very long at all. He's got Sean Bean all over.
Yeah, but I think the way that he went out, I thought was really dumb.
Yeah, it really does. It's funny because like train tracks, so many times in my life I've seen train tracks. People are willing to get on train tracks, yet everyone wants to talk about like, well, you got to worry about quicksand. Like, stay away from both, perhaps. Movies have taught me both equally dangerous.
I have been told through movies that I should stay away from bees, train tracks, quicksand, water, namely water that is in the ocean. Okay. What else? Mountains. Like, stay away from climbing. Like the movie Cliffhanger. Yeah. No, stay away from climbing.
Stay away from planes.
Yeah. Stay away from planes, cars, just about everything.
Christine.
You should stay. Yeah, Christine. So like there are certain things that you just don't do. Like when Iggy goes towards the bees, my first thought is My Girl and Macaulay Culkin. I'm like, the fucking bees. Like, don't do it.
It's funny that you bring that scene up. They had hired a stunt performer to do the scene. Day of shooting it, the stunt performer gets freaked out, refuses to do the scene, quits. And that is actually Mary Stuart Masterson She's like, I'll just do it. And she worked with the bee handler, and they figured out, and that's her just straight ass doing it.
Wow. That's some Tony Todd level acting right there, because Tony Todd did the exact same thing in Candyman.
Man, that makes sense. I mean, there's so many
Did you
bees
know
in
that?
Candy. I
They
did not.
dumped the bees in his mouth. Like that was real.
He was such a
Yeah.
great guy. Oh my God, what an amazing
Yeah.
actor. Yeah.
Met him one time. Yeah.
It must have been magical. I hear he was really awesome.
I was at I think it was at a horror convention in Pittsburgh, and he was at the bar, and I'm just like, it's fucking Candyman, dude.
Sweet. I definitely think that the performance that we get back from Louise Parker in that scene is half because she is legitimately watching the other actress do that amazing stunt, the beat charm. And so she's so taken back and so worried because everyone was legitimately worried. Is she going to be okay? If she gets badly stung, we can't keep filming. Oh, it has to work.
Yeah. No, I'm watching, I'm just going like, stay away from the fucking bees. Like, no honey is worth it. No honey is worth it. I don't care.
God. It's just freaking sugar. It's also funny that you bring up my
freaking sugar,
my girl, because that film and this film contain each have a line that can make me well up just from remembering it. Of course, in My Girl, it's he needs his glasses to see.
Oh, man.
Right?
Oh, God.
So when you're talking about bees, like, oh, yeah, no, I totally remember that movie. And bees. Yeah, I actually have never been stung by a bee, and I'm horrifically afraid of being stung by a bee because of My Girl.
I don't think I've been stung by a bee in a very long time. One of my earliest memories is getting stung in the ear by a bee.
No.
Yeah.
Unsubscribe.
Yeah. I
That
remember
shouldn't be
being in the
possible.
backyard. No, well, like you mentioned, like, what's the first movie you remember? It's like, Little Mermaid. But like, I can also remember like being in the backyard when I was like 5 years old, so roughly around the same time, and getting stung in the bee while playing, like right in the ear. Yeah,
it's painful. Yes,
if I remember it. Yeah, like that's one of those things where like it's a core memory.
Wow,
because it was painful. Yeah, but I not something I would suggest you do.
Yeah, no, don't. I won't seek that out. I'm fine, thanks.
Stay away from that. And then also like, wasps, because they can sting you and not die, because that's the real true evil right there.
I had a wasp's nest in my in the steps up to my front stoop to my house this summer. Everybody was walking on it. I don't even understand. And my husband was the one who walked on it when it cracked open and came running in the house, and it was so bad. And like they were stinging for well after they were killed. Wasps are truly awful.
They really are. Like they are nature's asshole. Like they just are. When we first moved into our house room, we actually had wasps that were getting into the house. Like they were coming in through like a light. Yeah, it was so weird. And we were finding like 20 or 30 of them, because by the time they would get through to the house, like inside, they were exhausted because they had like burrowed through all this shit. And so they're like, I don't know what to do. And so they were easy to kill. But, we told the landlord, we're like, I think you need to get this taken care of. And so they, I remember we had this guy who really took his job very seriously. His name, he billed himself as the bee hunter. And yeah, like that was his business, was the bee hunter. And he very much came in like, where are the bees at? I mean, you mean like the wasps? He's like, yes, where are the wasps at? I'm like, okay, bud. Like, he came in like wearing khakis and looking like he was ready to go to war with the wasps. And I'm like, I mean, you clearly are a master of your craft, by all means. And he's like, I've taken care of them. I'm like, okay, what did you do? He's like, I put nesting around this area here, and they will not come in. You had to come in this. I'm like, okay, bud. Just let me know if they come. We will let you know. And I think you need some time to decompress after this battle you had with the wasps.
That's fantastic. I mean, I guess if he does his job well, he can wear whatever he wants.
He did his job well. We didn't have the wasps come back. The bee hunter killed them, massacred them, committed a wasp genocide. So hey, they're not coming into my house anymore.
The line from this movie that always
Mhm.
makes me cry is delivered by Cecily Tyson, who is an amazing actress. You might have seen her in The Help, I think was her most recent credit. The black actress who, I forgot what the character's name is in this one. Sipsy.
Sipsy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She gets to have the best line in the whole damn film. I know those characters are very like broadly written and kind of used as accessories to the plot, but she gets to say the line to Iggy, "Don't cry, you know, she was a lady, and a lady always knows when to leave." And I think that is such a good freaking line. And again, it's surprising not to end at that point in the movie because it's really emotionally compact. It's really
Yeah.
well written, and that is a banger ass line.
Yeah, they should have ended there. Like, they should have really ended there.
But I do love the cannibalism.
I think you keep the cannibalism, but you just shift it.
Rearrange,
Like,
rearrange.
rearrange it. Put the cannibalism right after the whole weird, like, jury and court thing. Have that happen. Then we get to this part. Like, just like it again. I don't know why. I don't know why they threw that in there the way they did, but it makes more sense to throw that very emotionally charged scene, which really is the true end of the movie, at the end of the movie. Like, that's just, for me, I'm in the same boat as you.
It's very funny because also, by the time we get to the end of the movie, personally, I didn't really have the question of what happened to that guy's body. And I didn't really care if Iggy did or did not actually do it. This is like needing to know whether or not the top stops. Like, you could leave it open. I don't really feel like that's the important part of this story.
I mean, for the top stopping in Inception, it's a question mark at the end of a statement of a movie, which is this real? No, it is. The whole idea of reality and dreams and discerning what is reality, what is not real, what happens when you start to believe things within a dream as reality. That whole bending of reality and the dream world makes sense for that top to be the last thing. Plus, it's also been drilled in our heads throughout the entire film that if the thing is spinning, like we've got the repeatable motif happening over and over again. So, like, it makes sense that that's the last thing you see. But you're right. Like, no one gave a shit about what happened to this guy until the movie told us at the end. Like, I wasn't wondering what happened to that guy. I'm like, oh, someone hit him. Now it's the thing of like, well, who did it? It's like, well, that was the like number 3 thing about this whole story.
And they could have thrown his body in the river, burned it, give it to the pug. Why eat it?
So like, to go like, oh, yes, we ate his ass, literally. I'm like, oh, okay, that's a choice you made. Like, yes. But then they're like, well, the whole town disappeared after Ruth died. And again, I'm going, why did you not put that part after Ruth dies? Like, it just doesn't make any sense why they put that at the end, other than to just be a shock value thing. Like, that's the only thing I could think of, is we're going to end this on a shock value rather than an emotional punch. Yeah,
I guess maybe to make it feel a little bit more open to more audiences, as opposed to like, oh, women like movies that end like this. It is fascinating how it does have some similarities with Inception with regards to, like, here we have these stories where these narratives, and we're kind of questioning what is real and what isn't real, especially, well, mostly not in the Evelyn Couch stuff. Most of that is clearly real. But all of Ninny's stuff has this, like, what is really happening? What isn't really happening? And I thought about the runtime of this movie, and I thought about the use of flashback. Do you think that it is made better by being in that narrative structure, or do you think if we'd cut maybe 40 minutes out of it, made it an hour and a half, and had it all be a historical period piece in the back, would that have been better?
I mean, I am a fan of this flashback type structure. It reminds me a little bit of The Godfather Part 2 in terms of how it navigates it, where you do get this kind of, here's what's happening to this character, while at the same time, this is what's happening to this character on 2 completely different timelines. I think the biggest difference, though, is that where The Godfather Part 2 doesn't really have any sort of connection between the two, other than relying on the audience to do the heavy lifting, right? Like, that's one of the beauties of that film, is that it gives you all of the pieces and says, have fun. Like, that's what it does, right? You don't need a narrator to drive between those two timelines. Fried green tomatoes, unfortunately, you do have that. You do have Ninny / Iggy, who is that connective thread between these two timelines. I think it works fine. I don't think I would change it outside of just probably putting cannibalism first and then having the gut punch emotional ending that we clearly need.
Filmmaker, one of those tenets is usually cannibalism first.
Of course.
Yeah.
What you lead with the cannibalism, like we need to have that.
That's the hook. That's how you fight the ADHD.
That's how you get them. That's how you get them. Like, can you imagine if Fried Green Tomatoes just opened with, "This is the best damn barbecue I've ever had." Like, just someone saying that.
Or even just like, "We used to serve the best long pork down at Whistle Stop Cafe, and I can still taste it to this day." And you're like, "Did she say long pork?" Long pork.
It'd just be like, "We used to serve the juiciest pulled pork sandwiches down at Whistle Stop Cafe with a side of fried green tomatoes and an iced tea." And then you'd be like, "Do you know what that pulled pork really was?" Like,
technically, this could be on Letterboxd cannibalism lists.
You could
just throw it right in there. People be like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, throw that one in there and just be like, people be like, "What the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
Why is that on there?" And you'd be like, "You have to watch it to figure it out, dude. Like, yeah, you gotta watch the whole thing. It's not just about female love. There's more to it than that. And that more to it is cannibalism." Yum.
I did have to almost sit on my hands while making the video to send to you guys. I was very excited to be like, "Oh God, this is in a way it's for them. They just don't know." And they have, and I know that the beat is all the way at the end too.
Well, that was the thing when you told us, like when we had you on our show, and you're just like, "Oh, you guys have not seen Fried Green Tomatoes. You don't know." And I'm like, "What are you talking about? Fried Green Tomatoes? Whatever. Kathy Bates, okay." And now I get it. Now I get
It wasn't a total shot in the dark.
No, it was not.
So as we draw to the end, unfortunately, because I could talk to you forever. This could be a 4-hour episode. Any final thoughts? Anything we didn't cover?
I think just overall, this is a really brilliant film. I enjoyed it a lot. I did not think I would. I did enjoy it. I don't know if I'd go back and rewatch this like I would with a lot of other films, because I still do believe that this movie is not for me. Like, I really believe that this is not, I'm not the intended audience for this. But I did get a lot of enjoyment out of watching this. I did find elements of it funny. Like, we didn't even talk about Kathy Bates's, like, going nuts in a parking lot, which I was cracking up on.
With that very iconic line, "I'm older than you and I have better insurance."
Yeah. So, like, there's a lot in this film that is very funny, but also there's a lot in this film that has a lot of heart and definitely does make you think about your own personal relationships with people after watching this. So I think there is something to that, but I will admit that this is not a movie made for, white cisgender males. It's not for us. And that's cool. It doesn't have to be.
It's kind of like when I watched Bad Boys 1. Me and my friend Ari, we're two 40-year-old white women. That movie was not made for us. We found aspects of it that we liked, but mostly what we didn't like was like, "Oh yeah, that's in there because people who are not us enjoy that." And that's fine. But it is very interesting in the ways that you can relate to these characters and like where you are in your life and getting older and possibly dying and passing on stories. There are non-gendered things that are in here that you can still totally grasp onto. So I'm glad to hear you found that aspect to it. I think if I were to watch this movie again, because it's not a movie I feel like I'm going to keep throwing on. My favorite way to watch
It's not a Sunday afternoon movie. It's not.
Watch this movie again is with someone who hasn't seen it and doesn't know about the cannibalism. That I'm watching them watch the movie.
You're waiting for that moment. Like you're like, we know that this movie is 2.5 hours long, but I'm going to sit here and wait for that last like 15 minutes just to basically be like, did you know that you were getting into a cannibalism film? Because you are. Like that's still to me is like, holy shit. would not. And then I gotta go back to like, who in their right mind of the studio was like, yes, we're good with showing cannibalism, but we're not good with showing two women in a lesbian relationship. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Cannibalism's okay. Two women making out, nope, can't have it.
No, absolutely ridiculous ass shit that's what gets through and what doesn't at all get through on this. Yeah, good to point that out as well. And I do love that by the time the cannibalism is hitting you, you're still kind of like drying off the
Yeah, oh, yeah.
tears from the
Yeah.
death scene.
You're dealing with the feels.
Yeah.
100%.
It's there are very few movies that do that. They're like, ha ha. You're like, "Ooh."
That's some emotional jujitsu right there to be like, hey, by the way, you know, you're still grieving over the death of Ruth. Here, let me tell you about how the time that she cooked up that person and fed them to the town. And that's why there's no town anymore, because they all ate each other. I'm gonna die on that hill right there. They all got a taste of human flesh, and then they ate each other. They didn't all wander away like Ninny tells us. They ate each other because they got the hunger.
It's
and the only person left. It is. If you've seen the movie Ravenous, which is a brilliant film,
you should see it. Top 4.
You should see it. I'd say the best cannibalism film out there.
Hands down.
Okay.
Cannibalism and Manifest Destiny as the same allegory. It doesn't get any better than that.
No, but that taught me that if you consume a man, you consume their soul, and then the hunger becomes unending. So that is exactly what Iggy and Ruth did, is they caused a hunger in the whole town and they ate each other.
And even smaller than that, Big George killed and butchered a man, and everybody just goes and cooked it, and they all just go back from that. Like, man, we're just totally normal people. Like, what you should drive you H.P. Lovecraft kind of mad that you did that.
I imagine it did, but you got to figure, like, they had to eat.
Oh my God, this movie writes itself.
I'm telling you, the sequel has to be made. I'm telling you right now, KT, all we need is $10,000 and 8 ball of cocaine, and we can make this movie.
Are listening to this, Walter Goggins? We just need some of that. Do you know Walter Goggins has a 3D goggle company called the Walter Goggins Noggin Goggles?
My God, for real?
Yeah, noggin goggles.
I mean, I don't know if that tells me that, like, hey, maybe you should stop paying him money, but because, like, someone's got too much money when they're just like, you know, I'm going to invest my money in. I want some 3D goggles that are going to have noggin goggles. That's what we're going to call them.
It's just because it's funny and it sounds like my name. Here's some money.
Yes.
So, Walter Goggins, I know you got them noggin goggle glass money, so we just need $10,000. We'll let you be in it.
$8 and 8 ball of cocaine, man. That's all we need.
Question for you. Would you recommend this movie to anybody else, or would you say don't watch it? Yeah? Yeah.
100%. Yeah. No, I would absolutely recommend this movie to people. And I would recommend it in the same auspices that, you know, you kind of recommend it to me, as, you know, kind of, it's not what you necessarily think. And I think that's the biggest thing, is that if you have a preconceived notion of what fried green tomatoes is, like I did, you will find very quickly that is not the case, that it is not a Lifetime movie. Like, that is really what I thought it was very much a Lifetime-esque movie, like a Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants type film. Like, I thought it was very much going to be in that vein, and it's not that at all. It's much deeper than that, and much funnier than those movies. Because honestly, like, those movies I always thought were just really, really, really hard to watch.
They are so formulaic. Even when you I think the reason people like them is the comfort of knowing where it's going, what's going to happen, what the stakes are. And for filmmakers, that is a tedium that we do not need. I have seen this movie. I need not see this movie again with different actors.
Yeah. Like it's a lot of that. And there was even one that we reviewed early on that I didn't like it, because I'm like, this is the same thing. It was one with Christina Ricci, and it's also kind of like jumping back and forth in time. I forget the name of it.
I know what you're talking about, and it's got another famous actor in it. It's like a prepositional title, like "don't something" or rather like that.
Something along those lines. Yeah,
it'll be in the errata at the end.
Yeah. But it was a thing where I was like, this is very formulaic and very predictable. And I'm like, I don't really like this. And there are moments of it that were good, but it was just like, not my thing. And I thought that Fried Green Tomatoes was going to be very much that. I was pleasantly surprised that it was very fun to watch and honestly very heartfelt. Like, and not just talk about the cannibalism part, because that would clearly cause heartburn, but just the emotional stakes within the film.
It's hard. It is hard to walk that line, still return back to being funny, still have a murder mystery in it. And I am impressed by how it manages to hit those beats pretty successfully. I'm sure that Christina Ricci movie just needed more cannibalism and would have also been better.
I mean, can't we just admit that cannibalism just makes almost every film better? Like,
that's the lens I'm going to be looking
anyone?
at all my films for the rest of the week.
Does this need cannibalism? Yes or no?
Yes, that's why I put this in here. Well, as I said, I could talk to you forever, but I'm going to let you go now. Thank you so much for coming on and for seeing a movie that you thought might not be better than a Lifetime movie, which is a hard thing to do because I hate those movies too. But I am genuinely glad that we surprised you. Welcome to Corrections and Omissions. This is the part of the show where we publicly acknowledge that our brains sometimes do that blue screen of death thing mid-sentence. And I'm just going to kick off the bat right here with the title of the movie that we forgot that I told you would be in this part of the show. The elusive film that starred Christina Ricci that we absolutely couldn't remember. That was Now and Then from 1995. The ultimate coming-of-age girlhood movie. It starred Christina Ricci, Thora Birch, Gabby Hoffman, Ashley Ashton Moore as the kids, Rosie O'Donnell, Demi Moore, Rita Wilson, and Melanie Griffith as the adults. Peak 90s childhood energy. It had the time jumps back and forth between the kids and the adults, just like Brian remembered. We actually remembered a lot of it. We just couldn't remember what it was called. I said I couldn't remember who won Best Adapted Screenplay the year Fried Green Tomatoes was nominated. And here are the facts. It was the 1992 Academy Awards, which means that it was for films that came out in 1991. Fried Green Tomatoes had received 2 nominations. The first one was for Best Supporting Actress for Jessica Tandy as Ninny. She lost to Mercedes Ruehl for her role in The Fisher King, which I would love to do an episode of this show on. I just have to find someone who hasn't seen it. If you yourself haven't seen it, you should go see it. It's great. Her performance in it, well worth an Oscar. It was also nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay with Fanny Flagg and Carol Sobieski, but it lost to Ted Talley for Silence of the Lambs. Fried Green Tomatoes did not win any Oscars that year because it was the year that Silence of the Lambs won the Big 5. That is Best Picture, Best Director for Jonathan Demme, Best Actor for Anthony Hopkins, Best Actress for Jodie Foster, and like I just said, Best Adapted Screenplay for Ted Talley. And for those of you who are sitting there thinking right now, I wonder how many times that has ever happened in human history. Well, only 3 films have ever swept the Big 5. Silence of the Lambs, like I just said, is one of them. The other 2 are It Happened One Night from 1934 and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest from 1975. Meaning it's been over 3 decades since this has happened last. We are due for it again, fingers crossed. I also mentioned that the guy who scored a Goofy movie also scored No Country for Old Men, and then I simply did not say his name. It's Carter Burwell, iconic Coen Brothers collaborator. Yes, Disney absolutely toned down his original darker score, but it's still kind of in there. If you've listened to our No Country for Old Men episode with Harry Marks, you know how much I love this and how kind of funny it is to have the 2 of those combined. Check out that episode if you haven't. And that wraps up this week's Corrections and Omissions, or as I like to call it, movies I knew until the microphone was pointed at my face. If you enjoyed hanging out with us, don't forget to subscribe, rate, review, or scream the name of your favorite Christina Ricci movie into the void. Whatever helps the algorithm find us. You can follow me everywhere, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, all social media, at Movie Runtime. And if you want even more film chaos, behind-the-scenes nonsense, or episodes where we try very hard to remember the names of movies we have seen, please check out other episodes of this podcast, What If I Don't Like It? There are 39 other episodes so far. As always, thanks for listening, thanks for laughing with me, and I hope you watch something really weird this week. See you next time.